good whenever you got a rod that just makes them come right in. Would you look at that tank?
Yeah!
You know, sometimes the fish are not, when that water is as cold as it is, I love a 1/2 ounce. That's my favorite size. But whenever that water gets super cold like we're at, I mean, I'm still in the 30s. And I'll go, like I said, a 1/2 ounce is my favorite all time. I mean, it's very versatile. You can throw it up shallow, you know, out deeper, and that two can determine on your line size of how that bait runs depth-wise. But overall, I really love a 1/2 ounce. But when it's as cold as it is like it is now, and we got bluebird skies, sometimes dropping down that 1/4 ounce can make all the difference in allowing fish to go ahead and react to your bait and go ahead and take it. I've had a few bump that, and so I was thinking, well, I got to do something different. Got to make them bite, so I'm going to drop down the 1/4 ounce. And I'm throwing this on 12-pound test line, so we're going to be all right as far as being able to make the castability with it. You know, we started off today bluebird skies, which we still have, super, super cold. And I've kind of took a transition to going like a hard knocker and a one knocker because you can tell we got a little bit of wind now. And I've kind of went from hard spots. I would really like to fish grass this time of year. And we have some isolated patches of grass out on this flat also. And when I'm done running around with my live scope, checking them out, and but throwing this hard knocker through them. And we still got cold water, 38 degrees. We've got a whopping 3 degrees on us for today. So, but when I'm looking for those isolated patches of coontail and a little bit of hydrilla mixed in them. But that way, those fish, I can get a reaction bite. Even though I have a bluebird sky, I can still take it and rip this rattle bait out of there and make those fish go ahead and commit to it and knock the fire out of it. Oh, that fish there was really subtle. He barely pecked it, and then it just, that rod just completely loaded up. He's staying down. Sometimes switching, I mean, I love a crawl pattern this time of year, especially got some red in it, just like this. Now, a lot of times early in the year though, a crawl pattern can really be a dominant color. We got some pretty clear water, so I didn't go with a complete, really like a Rayburn red. It's more of a natural crawl. It's got just a little bit of red in it, a little more oranges. Sometimes this real subtleness of a bait can make a big difference this time of year. Like whenever you have cloudy conditions, you can go with those brighter colors. You know, even you have your golds and your chromes that are a lot more flashy. It seems like they work a lot better whenever it's overcast. That way those fish, they can find it a lot better because they can see it better. So whenever you got real pretty days like today, try your natural colors that aren't as wild to the fish. I'm not saying you can't catch them on bright red this time of year or when you have bluebird skies, but go with your more natural color approach and maybe not quite as bright, and you'll have a lot more success on them. Got a good. Just slow rolling it right along. Oh. It's just, whenever you get the right retrieve, these fish, they'll tell you. I know it sounds kind of cliche, but you've got to change up, especially this time of year, to really show those fish something a little bit different, because they are so sluggish. Like, this fish is probably proud that I'm putting him up in the air so he can warm up a little bit. But varying your retrieve this time of year, and you know, sometimes they want a little bit faster retrieve and maybe ripping it out of the grass to make them react. But other times, just holding your rod tip up, getting just a nice steady retrieve to keep that bait just above the grass, just ticking it every now and then. will make those fish, just the speed will give them reaction time, and they'll go ahead and come up there and nail your bait, just like that guy there did. Stay down here. Oh, got a little head shake to it. You might have a big fish here. Oh. Just slow, that fish there, I just mainly just slow rolling it over the top of that grass. I wasn't hopping it or nothing, just kind of easing it along. And, oh my gosh, look at this one. Oh man. It's good whenever you got a rod that just makes them come right in. Would you look at that tank? Oh man. Oh, I've caught several smaller ones, but every now and then, a little hard knocker pulls out the old good one. You know, having the right setup, soft rod, good hooks off a booyah hard knocker can equal out to major success. Oh, that's a good one. You know, like I was saying there, as far as reeling it slow over the top of the grass, which I'm just going to make a pretty long cast, and I just kind of hold my rod tip up, and as I'm reeling it out, you know, I'm seeing just a pretty steady retrieve, and as I'm getting out here a little bit deeper, you're going to watch my rod and it's going to slowly start going down, and that's kind of following the depth of the grass. Like I said, I got a lot of stuff that's, oh gosh, I dropped it down, and every now and then though, whenever you get the retrieve right, they don't always want the bait slow retrieved. Sometimes you drop it and it gets drilled. And as you can tell, he really liked it when I dropped it down. Sorry, I was really interrupted there by a fish, which is a good thing. But I was, you know, I was saying, as I'm bringing that rod and that bait out deeper, I'm going to lower my rod tip, and it's going to allow that bait to go from higher in the water column right above that shallower grass to where I'm getting out here deeper to that 4 or 5 foot, and I'm still just barely ticking the very tops of that grass. Another way that I've caught a few fish doing also is when you're throwing it out there, you're going to let it kind of go down to that grass, and you're going to raise your rod tip. And just kind of almost fish it like a jig or a worm, where you're just moving it along. But every time that bait, it starts, once you feel it kind of get to that grass, go ahead and raise your rod tip, and it allows it to kind of jump out of there. And every now and then it's going to get kind of hung on that grass. When it does that, you can kind of give it just a little bit harder of a jerk, and it's going to rip free. And when it rips free, those fish, it just makes them react to it. And that's whenever it's really cold and that water's cold and those fish are really sluggish, that is a great way to make those fish react to your bait and get a lot more bites out of that process. And it can make you get more efficiency too, because whenever you're just reeling it, you're going to have some grass get on your hooks, and that's going to mess up the wiggle and stuff of your bait. So whenever you do feel that grass, because you're going to be able to feel that tip just vibrating along, and whenever it starts getting, say it just feels sluggish and stop, just take it and just really going to give it a real short snap, and it'll free those hooks up from that grass, and you'll get some reaction off of that. But it allows you to get your bait free and make your entire cast work instead of, well, I'm hung up, and you just reel it in. Just snap that rod tip, and that'll free that grass from your hooks, and you can keep fishing on that cast all the way back to the boat. This time of year, as far as line diameter and line size, I normally like to stay 12 to 16 pound test, depending on the depth that I'm fishing. Obviously, I'm fishing out deeper, I'm going to go with a lighter line. If I'm fishing up shallower, I'm going to go ahead and go up the 16 pound test. Very crucial to me in the setups for this time of year, and any time really though, is having a good parabolic bend in your rod that allows these fish to load up. And you can tell here this rod's got a real good bend to it, and it allows, when that fish inhales that bait, that it's just going to slowly taper into that fish and pull into them. And I go with a 7 foot, the cranking series in Care's Falcon. Rattle baits with them treble hooks, those fish will jump and try to throw it, and that parabolic rod soft tip will allow those fish to stay hooked up a lot better for you. But those are my two main setups and sizes and colors for me.